Earlier on this week, I asked for your suggestions for a quick CTR video, and there was lots of good ones, and up until this afternoon, I was gonna make one of these video suggestions, but then I saw this new leak, which, although it's frankly rubbish, made me think maybe it's time we're approaching the Game Awards now to actually talk about what I expect to see from Crash 2020. Do I expect to see a game? Is there any evidence we'll see a game? And when could this game release? Now, a lot of this content has already been gone over by previous YouTubers, but I think there's still more for me to say that can make this video a little bit different and add a few different concepts I've not really seen anybody talking about in the past. Now, that doesn't mean nobody has, I just haven't seen them. So today we're going to talk about all that. If you want to see more Crash and Spyro content every Wednesday, please do feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. And we have a video coming out on Sunday which is kind of similar to this in what should come next, a brand new Spyro game or a remake of a different Spyro game. So yeah, let's jump into the Crash 2020 video though. So yes, I think that this leak is probably somebody making things up slightly, but it does actually include a lot of the things we expect to see in the next year or so regarding Crash or Spyro. Now, a lot of the credit here has got to go to Canadian guy A, because for well over a year, I think, or about a year, he has been talking a lot about what we expect to see next year, and yeah, I think a lot of us will run with this right now. So Canadian guy A has talked a lot about the next game developed by Activision, being either Crash or Spyro, will be a new Crash game developed by Vicarious Visions, because what on earth have they been doing since the Insane trilogy? Now yes, we've had Crash, Spyro, Crash, but the second installment of Crash with the Crash with CTR was actually developed by Beanox, so Toys for Bob have not had enough time to develop a new Spyro game since the Reignited trilogy, and Vicarious Visions haven't really been doing that much. They've been quite quiet, which probably means they've been working on something. And let's also remember, we've seen a little bit of concept art, probably by accident, but we have seen some concept art of a new Crash game. So by all means, and because of Canadian guy's thinking and logic, we really do expect to see in principle a brand new Crash game next year. Now, as somebody who has a lot of faith in Canadian guy and his theories, I've never really doubted that it would probably be a new Crash game next year, and we are starting to see quite a lot of indicators that it will be. Now, you know, maybe if you didn't trust Canadian guy's theorizing, is theorizing a word? I don't even know. There is now starting to be evidence that it is actually right and that the next game will be a Crash game in 2020. So apart from the concept art which we have seen, what else do I think classes as evidence that Crash Bandicoot will be coming next year? And a lot of this is inference, but a lot of this is also, you know, there's a good chance it means something. So, basically, PlayStation are pushing Crash Bandicoot. So we saw him in a recent trailer for the PS4 in his cart from CTR, which, for some reason, included another mask which we've not seen anywhere before. That's strange, isn't it? And it also poses an awful lot of questions. But there is more, because PlayStation have not just been putting him in trailers and things like that, he just seems to be getting everywhere at this point. What is that face Cortex is pulling, by the way? Weird, man, weird. Perhaps one of the most interesting things is that Crash Bandicoot has started appearing on the sides of buses in the UK. Now, I don't know if any of you are from the UK, our demographic suggests most of you are not, but has anybody else seen a Bandicoot on a bus in the UK? Kind of weird. Now, some claim the image of Crash on these buses is a render of the character from a brand new game, but whether that means anything or not, whether there's any truth in that or not, from my experience, the whole thing with Crash appearing in trailers suddenly, which hasn't really happened too often previously in the last few years at all, and Crash appearing on things like the sides of buses really does suggest something's going on. And from my experience of covering a number of games and thinking about will we get this, will we get that in the future, there tends to be no smoke without fire. Now, for me, the question is raised. Why put the time and effort into promoting Crash Bandicoot with PlayStation at this point? Let's think about it. The Insane trilogy is a few years old, and CTR, although which is still alive because of the new Grand Prix, was released back in the summer. Why put the time and effort into promoting Crash Bandicoot as a character if there's not something new on the horizon? And that for me is what what's really suggesting that either at the Game Awards in December or early next year, we are going to be getting the announcement of a brand new Crash game. But as you can hear in my voice, I think there's a few questions still to be asked on when we will firstly get an announcement, and secondly, when this game will release in 2020. Now, I do definitely believe it will come out in 2020, but just when? Now, in a normal year, I'd say we're almost certain to have an announcement at the Game Awards. As has been pointed out by so many people, this has been used for numerous Crash announcements over the past few years, with a release probably before or around September next year. Again, that just seems to be what happens. But there is something kind of weird about 2020, which is the release of the next-gen consoles. Now, I'm a little bit weird, but this idea of will Crash Bandicoot next appear on this gen or next-gen consoles is a really interesting topic to me. That pretty much proves I am quite weird. Because, I don't know. I'd love it to be on current consoles because then it makes sense. You know, we had the Insane Trilogy and Reignited Trilogy for Spyro on the current console, so it makes sense to really optimize that fan base really on the current console, because not everybody's going to go out and buy a PS5, for example, next year. But then again, a lot of people are going to want Crash Bandicoot on the new console, and having Crash Bandicoot on a new PlayStation or whatever platform he comes to next year is going to help sell new copies, new versions of consoles, next-gen consoles. Now, my particular preference would obviously be that the new Crash game releases on both. So we get a release on the PS4 and Xbox One, and that we get a release slightly later on the release of the next-gen consoles of Crash Bandicoot on that system. Now, will that happen or not? I'm really intrigued, and I'm also really intrigued to see what other people think. So, you know, I don't know, but let me know what you think down below. So there you have it, a quick video on my thoughts for Crash Bandicoot 2020, a game which I do believe will happen with some name or another. It probably won't be called Crash Bandicoot 2020. But yeah, let me know what you think to everything we've discussed in this video. I would like to do a more polished video on the topic either prior to the Game Awards, or let's see what happens there and maybe after that. But yeah, let me know if you want to see that down in the comments. If you have enjoyed today and want to see more Crash and Spyro content every Wednesday, and often more regular, I mean, we're covering Spyro this Sunday, but feel free to hit that like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry it's not been as polished as usual, and I will see you in another video soon.